Okay, so good morning, everyone. And our topic for today is about uh, health and safety. So on completing these modules, the student be able to define a key concepts, on managing health and safety at work, risk assessment, health and safety inspections, occupational health programs, communicating the need for for better health and safety practices, organizing health and safety, health and safety policies, health and safety audits, accident prevention, measuring health and safety performance, and health and safety training. Now, health and safety policies and programs are concerned with protecting employees and other people affected by what the company produces and does. So against the hazard arising from their employment or their links with the organization or agency. So safety programs deal with the prevention of accidents and with minimizing the resulting loss and damage to people and property. So they relate more to systems of work than the working environment, but both health and safety programs are concerned with protection against hazard, and their aims and methods are clearly interlinked. So occupational health programs deal with the prevention of ill health arising from working conditions. So they consist of two elements. Number one, occupational medicine, which is a specialized branch of preventive medicine concerned with the diagnosis and prevention of health hazard at work and dealing with any ill health or stress which has occurred in spite of preventive action. And number two, of course, is the occupational hygiene, which is the province of the chemist and the engineer or ergonomist engaged in the measurement and control of environmental hazard. Now, the achievement of a healthy and safe place of work and the elimination to the maximum extent possible of hazard to health and safety is the responsibility of everyone employed in an organization, as well as those working there under contract. So, but the onus is on management to achieve and indeed go beyond the high standard in health and safety matters required by the legislation. So, actually, in our country, meron tayong health and safety, and various regulations laid down in the code of practice. So the importance of health and safety policies and practices is sadly often underestimated by those concerned with managing companies, organizations, agencies, by individual boss, managers with those businesses, let's say. But it cannot be emphasized too strongly that the prevention of accidents and elimination of health and safety hazard is a prime responsibility of management and the supervisors in order to minimize suffering and loss. So the achievement of the high standard of health and safety in the workplace is the moral as well as the legal responsibility of employees. And this is overriding reason. So close and continuous attention to health and safety is important because ill health and injuries caused by the system of work or working condition cause suffering and loss to individuals and their dependents. Now, in addition, accidents and absences through ill health or injuries result in losses and damage of the agencies. And this agency's reason is much less significant than the human reasons, but it is still a consideration, albeit a tangential one. So, written health and safety policies are required to demonstrate that the top management is concerned about the protection of the organization's employees from hazards at work and to indicate how this protection will be provided. They are therefore first in declaration of intent, second, the definition of means by which the intent will be realized, and third, a statement of guidelines that should be followed by everyone concerned, which means all employees implement the policy. So the policy statement should consist of three parts. Number one, the general policy statement. Number two, the description of the agencies for health and safety. And number 3, details arrangement for implementing the policy. So the general policy statement should be declaration of the intention of the agency or the owner of the, or even the government, no, to safeguard the health and safety of the employees. It should emphasize some fundamental points like that the safety of employees and public is a paramount importance. Safety takes precedence over expediency. That every effort will be made to involve all supervisors and heads, team leaders, and employees in the development and implementation of health in safety procedures, and that health and safety legislation will be complied with in the spirit as well as the letter of the law. So the policy statement should describe the health and safety organization or agencies of the government agency through which high standards are set and achieved by people in all levels in the agency. So this statement should underline the ultimate responsible of the top management for the health and safety performance of the said agency. It should actually it should then indicate how key management personnel are held accountable, for performance in their department. So the role of safety representative and safety committees should be defined, and the duties of specialists such as the safety advisor and the medical officer should be summarized. Now, what is a risk management? Especially this time of pandemic, no? So risk assessment are concerned with the identification of hazards and the analysis of the risk attached to them. So a hazard is anything that can cause harm, working on roofs, lifting heavy objects, chemicals, electricity, and others. So a risk is the chance, large or small, of harm being actually done by the hazard. So the purpose of risk assessments is to initiate preventive action, and the control measure to be devised on the basis of understanding of the relative importance of risk. So risk assessment must be recorded if there are 5 or more employees. Actually, there are 2 types of risk management. Number 1, quantitative risk assessment, which produce an objective probability estimate based upon risk information that is immediately applicable to the circumstances in which at risk occur. Secondly is qualitative risk assessment, which is more subjective actually, and is based on judgment backed by generalized data. So qualitative risk assessment is preferable if the specific data are available. So qualitative risk assessment may be acceptable if there is little or no specific data, as long as assessment is made systematically on the basis of an analysis of working conditions and hazards and informed judgment of the likelihood of harm actually being done. Risk assessment seek to identify typical hazard activities where accident happen, such as receipt of raw materials like lifting, carrying, stacking, and storage, like say for example falling materials, movement of people and materials, let's say falls, collisions, processing of raw materials, exposure to toxic substances, let's say for example you are working, let's say in the OST, and so on. So maintenance of buildings, like say roof work, gutter cleaning, maintenance of plant and machinery, so lifting tackle, installation of equipment, using electricity, using hand tools, extension leads, operating machines, operating without sufficient clearance or at an unsafe speed, not using safety devices, failure to wear protective equipment like hats, boots, clothing, this distribution of products, or raw materials like movement of vehicles, dealing with emergencies like spillage, fire, explosions, and health hazard arising from the use of equipment or methods of working, let's say repetitive strain injuries from badly designed workstation or working practices. So most accident caused by a few key activities. Assessors should concentrate initially on those that could cause serious harm. Operations such as roof work, maintenance, and transport movement cause far more deaths and injuries each year than many mainstream activity. So when carrying out a risk assessment, it is also necessary to consider who might be harmed. This does not mean only employees, but also visitors, including cleaners and contractors, and the public when calling in to buy products or enlist services. Or let's say, for example, in your agency, no, you have a customers, no, you have a visitors, no. So hazards should be ranked according to their potential severity as a basis for producing one side of the risk question. So a simple 3-point scale can be used, such as low, moderate, and high. No, so a more complex severity rating scales has been proposed, no, and this is the catastrophic, no, imminent danger exists, hazard capable of causing death and illness of a wide scale. We have critical, no, a hazard can result in serious illness, severe injury, property and equipment damage, and marginal, no, that this will be the hazard can cause illness, injury, or equipment damage, but the results would not be accepted, or but the result should not expected to be serious and negligible. Hazard will not result in serious injury or illness, remote possibility of or damage beyond minor first aid case. So in assessing the risk, when the hazard have been identified, it is necessary to assess how high the risks are. And we need to answer some question. Let's say, for example, what is the worst result? How likely is to happen? How many people could be hurt if things go wrong? And the probability rating system can be used, such as probable, reasonably probable, remote, and extremely remote. In taking action, no, risk assessment should lead to action. The type of action can be ranked in order of potential effectiveness in form of safety precedence sequence. No, the safety precedence sequence is the hazard elimination. We can use of alternatives, design improvements, and change of process. Number 2 is substitution. Let's say, for example, replacement of chemical with one that is less risky. No, use of barriers, no, removing the hazard from the worker or removing the worker from the hazard, and use of procedures. No, limitation of exposure, dilution of exposure, safe systems of work. This depends on the human response, of course, and use of warning system. No, we have signs, instruction, levels, and use of personal protected clothing. This depends on human response, is used only when all other options have been exhausted. Now, for the monitoring and evaluation of the risk assessment, no? So risk assessment is not completed when action has been initiated. It is essential to monitor the hazard and evaluate the effectiveness of the action in eliminating it, or at least reducing it to an acceptable level. So how about the health and safety audits? No? Risk assessments is identify specific hazard and quantify the risk attached to them. Health and safety audits provide for a much more comprehensive review of all aspects of health and safety policy, procedures, and practices programs. So again, a safety audit will examine the whole agencies or organizations in order to test whether it is meeting its safety aims and objectives. So it will examine hierarchies, safety planning process, decision making, delegation, policy making and implementation, as well as all areas of safety program planning. So who carries out a health and safety audit? So safety audit can be conducted by safety advisor and or HR specialist. But the more managers, employees, and trade union representatives are invoked, the better. Audits are often carried out under the auspices of a healthy and safe committee, with each member taking an active part in conducting them. Bosses or managers can also be held responsible no, for conducting audits with their departments, and even better. So individual members of this department can be trained to carry out audits in particular areas. So the conduct of an audit will be facilitated if checklists are prepared and a simple form used to record result. And some organizations also use outside agency or the third party to conduct independent audits. No? So what is covered by a health and safety audit? A health and safety audit should cover policies. No? Do health and safety policies meet legal requirements? Are senior managers or heads of the agency committed to health and safety? How committed are other managers, team leaders, and supervisors to health and safety? Is there health and safety committee? If not, why not? So how effective is the committee in getting things done? when it comes to procedure, let's say for example, if your agency, undergo ISO, let's say ISO, ISO certifications, So most commonly the lead auditor, looking forward with the procedures, how effectively do the procedures, support the implementation of health and safety policies, how you'll be able to communicate the need for good health and safety practices, how you'll be able to provide for systematic risk assessment, how you'll be able to ensure the accidents are investigated thoroughly, how you'll be able to record that the health and safety that is used to evaluate performance and initiate action, how your agency ensure that health and safety considerations are given proper weight when designing systems of work or manufacturing and operational process, including the design of equipment and workstations, the specification for the product or services, and the use of materials. Let's say, for example, you are working in LRTA, how you'll be able to provide safety training, especially induction training and training when jobs or working methods are changed. Let's say, okay, number 3 is the safety practices. We need also to evaluate to what extent do health and safety practices in all areas of the organization conform to the general requirements of health and safety at work act and the specific requirements of the various regulation and code of practice. So what risk assessment had been carried out and what were these findings, what actions were taken, Hindi pwedeng right after ma-evaluate, wala na. So what actions were taken of the agency? So what is the health and safety performance of the organization as shown by the performance indicator? Is the trend positive or negative? If the latter, what is being done about it? How thoroughly are accident investigated? What steps have been taken to prevent the recurrence? And what is the evidence that managers and supervisors are really concerned about health and safety? So the audit should cover the questions about, as what I mentioned, but its purpose is to generate action. So those conducting the audit will have to assess priorities and costs and draw up actions programs for approval by the board. So health and safety inspection are designed. So we have health and safety inspection. So this will be designed to examine a specific area of the organization. So an operational department or a manufacturing process in order to locate and define any faults in the system, equipment, plant of machines, or any operational errors that might be a danger to health or source of accident. So health and safety inspection should be carried out on a regular and systematic basis by the managers and supervisors with the advice and help of health and safety advisors. So the steps to be taken in carrying out health and safety inspection, of course, is to allocate the responsibility for conducting the inspection, define the points to covered in the form of a checklist, define the department or plant into areas and list the points to which attention needs to be given in each area, define the frequency with each with which inspection should be carried out in daily and critical areas. Use the checklist as the base for the inspection. Carry out sample or spot checks on the random basis and carry out special investigation as necessary to deal with special problems such as operating machinery without guards to increase throughput. Set up reporting system and set up system for monitoring that safety inspection are being conducted properly and on schedule, that corrective action has been taken where necessary. Hindi po yung it happens that they just simply visited the office or the agency, nakipagkwentuhan dun sa head ng agency, nagpirmahan na nang wala naman talaga nangyaring ocular, no? So it happens. Now, accident prevention. The prevention of accident is achieved by some actions, no? Accident prevention action, like let's say, identify the cause of accident and conditions under which they are most likely to occur. Take account of safety factors at the design stage, building safety into the system, design safety equipment and protective devices, and provide protective clothing, no? Carry out regular risk assessment audits, inspection and check that take action to corrective action, no? Maintain good records and statistics in order to identify problem areas and unsatisfactory trends, no? We need to conduct a continuous program of education and training on safe working habits and methods of avoiding accidents, and encourage approaches to leadership and motivation that do not place excessive demands on people. In some agency, and even private or public agency, they have occupational health programs, no? This will, of course, the occupational health programs are designed to minimize the impact of work-related illnesses arising from work, no? And of course, the control of occupational health and hygiene problems, this will be the possible action, no? Eliminate the hazard at source through design and process engineering, isolate hazardous processes and substances actually, so that workers do not come into contact with them, change the processes or substances used to promote better protection or eliminate at risk, and so on. So, in measuring health and safety performance, it is essential to measure health and safety performance as a means of identifying in good time where action are necessary, no? So, it is also important in communicating the need for better health and safety practices. It's necessary to deliver the message that health and safety is important, as long as this supplements rather than replacement or initiatives. So, of course, health and safety training is a key part of the preventive program. It should start as part of the induction course or program. It should also take place following a transfer to a new job or a change in working method. So, safety training spells out the rules and provides information on potential hazards and how to avoid them. Okay, further refresher training should be provided in special courses laid on to deal with new aspects of health and safety or areas in which safety problems have emerged. No? So health and safety concern everyone is in establishment, although the main responsibility lies with management in general and individual managers in particular. Specific roles, as of course, is the management to develop and implement health and safety policies and ensure that the procedure for carrying out risk assessment, safety audits and inspection are implemented. Importantly, management has the duty of monitoring and evaluating health and safety performance and taking corrective action as necessary. And the managers, of course, employers, health and safety advisor, health and safety representative, medical advisor, and safety committees. So,